What's happening, people? So we're talking some boxing over the weekend. We had the Nevada Boxing Hall of Fame that honored a number of different people. And of these inductees, we had Bernard Hopkins out there, Floyd Mayweather Sr. Also honored was Joel Casamayor, Wayne McCullough, Hasim Rahman, Vinny Pazienza, Bobby Chacon. Yeah, Bobby. Humberto Chiquita Gonzalez, Juan Manuel Marquez, Terrible Terry Norris, Winky Ronald Wright. We also had Dan Goosen and Dwayne Ford, the judge. They were all honored, as well as some other people. And it was really cool to see Lamont Brewster and a number of other people like Michael Spinks and so on there. And a lot of people got interviewed. The Mayweather Boxing Channel was covering some of that. Also, Fight Hub was covering some of that. And I thought it was really awesome. And you can see some of those videos up on there. But one of the things I heard, and I thought was very interesting, was listening to an interview with Joe Cortez, and he was interviewing Lamont Brewster. And he was talking about, what do you think of today's fighters compared to yesterday fighters? And Lamont Brewster was talking about how, many of the great trainers are gone. Emmanuel Stewart is gone, Eddie Futch is gone, And he was saying, we've lost those great trainers, and today there are not really any great trainers. And I've heard this argument before. I've even heard the argument that boxing as a sport has declined in terms of the art of boxing. I don't believe that the art of boxing has declined. What I think has happened is somewhat changed a bit, and even the sport itself has changed a bit. Guys are hitting harder, and they're much bigger as well. And I think that I was looking at a throwback fight just recently there, Ezra Charles versus Jimmy Bivin. And I'll be honest with you guys, right? The fight was to a high degree to me, boring as fuck. And I could see how a casual fan could be bored with it. Not because of the skill that was involved. There was a lot of skill involved, bobbing, weaving, using the jab, pivoting and stuff. And the clinching was interesting as well. But I just found that it was boring because the action wasn't much. It was, throw a jab, try to throw your power hand. If you didn't throw your power hand, you lock up, right? So they would tie up, lock up, and then they try and throw some arm punches inside there. It was kind of boring as fuck, like I said before. It didn't have the action that you normally see in today's fights. And it was amazing because, of course, Ezra Charles, eventually, he was able to beat Jimmy Bivin. It went to decision. I think this, I'm not too sure how many fights this was in. I think this was the fourth one. But I also looked at Archie Moore versus Jimmy Bivin. Jimmy Bivin, obviously, being a good boxer. Anyway, but the point is that it was boring. I'm just saying. And I wasn't trying to be bored with it. I just found it was quite repetitious what they were trying to do, their strategy. There was no changing. Nobody was trying to adapt to nobody. I thought it was just very interesting that it was boring in that respect. But nonetheless, the point is, I think a lot of people don't even watch throwback fights, so they don't even know. And I'm not saying these guys didn't have skill. I see some of the skill involved. It's just that with that skill also came the vulnerabilities that they had when they were actually mounting their offense. So sometimes they weren't defensively responsible while mounting their offense, which I thought was very interesting. Even Ezra Charles, I thought he was a little bit wild when he was facing Jimmy Bivin as well, which I thought was interesting. Nonetheless, what Lamont Brewster said, I just wanted to add my input to that because I thought that Lamont Brewster talking about, trainers today are not as yesterday and we lost all our good trainers. I think that's not necessarily true. I'll give you an example. Billy Briscoe, who's the trainer of Gabe Rosales and a number of other guys, he's a very good trainer. And again, some of the lost art of boxing that people talk about, he has knowledge on that. Lamont Brewster, he trains fighters. What is he saying about himself? We got, of course, a number of other former fighters. Floyd Mayweather Sr., Jeff Mayweather, and these guys all know the the art of boxing as well, and they've been trained by other guys, and this is how it goes. It passes on from hand to hand to hand. That's how it goes. All right, so Eddie Futch, for example, Freddie Roach was under Eddie Futch. For a certain time, Georgie Benton was under Eddie Futch, etc. Right? So I'm just saying that you can't say that. And look at these fighters. Brian McIntyre, also known as Bomac. Bomac obviously knows things about boxing. Now, he wasn't the only guy that trained him. Of course, we have Esau Diguez, and of course, the late Mitch Minor was the guy that started off Terrence Crawford. But the point is that Terrence Crawford obviously has old school skills inside of him, right? Clearly. When we look at guys like Errol Spence Jr., who was trained by Derek James, again, old school and new school is found inside of Errol Spence. And then these guys, of course, would have looked at former fighters and former fights as well. And they would also learn certain arts and tricks in the trade of boxing. Now, I'm not saying that everything has been captured and is moving on into the future. But I'm just saying that most of the top guys in boxing today, they have that old school training inside of them. Now, there's some with the new school training as well, and we can talk about that a little bit later. But I'm just looking at a couple of them. You have Robert Garcia and his father, excellent trainers. You got Kenny Porter, new school kind of training, new school kind of approach, yet mixed with the old school kind of approach to boxing. Vasily Lomachenko's father, Anatoly Lomachenko, is a hell of a trainer. All right, and we see that with Gavordik and Usyk, who he also trains. Ben Getty, of course, has passed away, but Dan Birmingham is a hell of a trainer, and we all know this from Winky Wright. Buddy McGirt is a hell of a trainer. Ronnie Shields is a hell of a trainer. Stephen Bredman Edwards, Julian Williams' J-Rock's coach, hell of a trainer. Okay, old school training. You look at and really schooled J-Rock very well. Deontay Wilder's Jay Diaz and Mark Breland are hell of trainers. It's just that I think people don't give boxing a chance. You can't be calling these people. Georgie Benton was a hell of a boxer, right? But he was also a hell of a trainer. But again, Georgie Benton didn't just overnight become a hell of a trainer. You know what I mean? And these are the kinds of things I don't understand. Danny Garcia's father, Angel Garcia, hell of a trainer. Hell of a trainer. Okay? New school form of boxing mixed with old school form of boxing. The fundamentals are there. Tevin Farmer's trainer, Raul Rivas, hell of a trainer. Okay? You got Gervonta Davis's trainer, Calvin Ford, giving you not just the fundamentals of boxing, but just the deep depths of boxing. And by the way, Gervonta Davis has a hell of a defense. But, people don't necessarily see his defense and all his boxing skill, and he wants to showcase that very soon. Show that he's really much more than just a power puncher. And you can see that just in his selection of shots and stuff like that, too. But Demetrius Andrade's father, Paul Andrade, Kevin Keefe, and Virgil Hunter, these are all hell of a trainers, okay? So how can they be talking about, look at this other one, Canelo Alvarez, the Reynosos, all right? Jose Reynoso, Eddie Reynoso, come on now. So, I mean, you can't be saying that, all the good trainers are gone. That's not true at all. That's not true at all, all right? And the other thing about it is, if you ask me, when I look at throwback fights, those guys got tired a lot faster than the guys today. The guys today are much better conditioned, in my opinion, than those guys of yesteryear. I was looking at Ezra Charles versus Bivens, and I was looking also at Archie Moore versus them two dogs tired by the time they reached the 7th round. They just tired and falling over on each other and shit. It's funny as fuck, and it just shows me that it's a totally different era of boxing. In fact, if you look at the guys in this era, they're sharper than those guys of yesteryear. They may not be as fast as those guys of yesteryear. Some of those guys look like they were on cocaine straight, but they would be fast. But when it comes to you're looking at how sharp these guys are, how precise they are, how rehearsed they are in certain things, you can't beat the guys of today. You can't. And they're bigger and they're stronger and they are faster. But more importantly, they're very sharp. They can see they rehearsed a lot of stuff. So I'm just saying that, we've come a long way from in the past. Long, long way from in the past, And people have to embrace what it is, the future. Yes, some things are going to be lost in boxing, and sometimes people will find